Welcome back to the Afterworlds lore series. In our last video, we covered the timeline of events that led from the point of divergence between our history and the history of Afterworlds, all the way to the beginning of the apocalypse. Today, we will go in depth into that portion of the timeline. Let's explore the Apocs. December 29th, 2025, the day after First Contact, the CEO of Knight Industries, Arthur Knight, met with his remaining shareholders and announced that the company would be halting all other production and focusing solely on a new project, codenamed Cavalier, a powered exoskeleton with a tough outer shell strong enough to both protect the wearer from the energy weapons that the invaders were using and strengthen them through mechanical support. Environmentally sealed to protect human warriors from alien bacteria or biological weapons. This announcement went largely unnoticed by the populace due to all the media attention being focused on the threat currently ravaging mainland China. Taking advantage of the public eye being focused on the alien menace overseas, Universal Logistics Info Group, Unlimited Laboratories Incorporated, and Uber Light Sports finished a much controversial merger on January 1st, 2026. They formed the world's most powerful megacorporation, Ultech. Though, many analysts believe that these companies had been operating as a secret conglomerate for a while now, this front-facing move would allow them to publicly begin making moves to control vast regions of relatively ungoverned territory. By January 9th, 2026, it was estimated that half of the population of China had fallen to the alien onslaught. Over 700 million souls. A cooperative attack force of most of the world's major nations was dispatched in an attempt to combat the alien threat. In response, the invaders released a dogfighting craft of their own. Operation Avenging Angel was considered a complete failure, and most of humanity's air forces were lost. On January 11th, communications from Seoul, South Korea, suddenly stopped. Evacuations had begun, but were not completed. Tokyo, Japan went dark on January 19th. There was little information about if they had a chance to start evacuations before the rest of the world lost communication. On January 20th, 2026, German scientist Reinhold Dettenberg announced the creation of what many would eventually call humanity's greatest hope. Dubbed the Vanguard, this think tank was composed of wealthy corporation heads, scientists, and political figures who had not gone into hiding and were acting on behalf of mankind. The group received very little support from the masses at the time, and found itself the subject of mockery online. The Vanguard began its desperate rush to create weapons capable of stopping the relentless attacks of the alien invaders. New Delhi, India was reportedly destroyed on February 12th, 2026. The populace of major cities all over the Eastern Hemisphere had been emptied, causing an unprecedented refugee crisis over most of Asia. The invaders began moving quickly to the northwest, towards Europe. Panic gripped the streets of Madrid, Istanbul, London, and Berlin. The invaders' ship arrived over Paris, France on February 13th, 2026. Over 500,000 people had migrated from the surrounding countries to Paris. Led by a charismatic man by the name of Marco Demir, the fanatics believed that the aliens had not been destroying the populations of the cities that they had attacked, but were instead elevating them to the ship, to help them learn to leave behind the trappings of mankind and to ascend to the next level of consciousness. While the live streams lasted, their faith was proven to be misplaced. People all over the world witnessed the cult burn alive as energy weapons rained down upon the once great city. This was the last straw for those who had to make a very difficult decision. Vanguard deployed its doomsday weapon.
Today, I do not bring you a message of hope. Instead, I bring you a warning and an apology. We have reached a precipice upon which the fate of humanity balances. We do what we must, and for that I am truly sorry. Humanity must persist in spite of its salvation. Godspeed.
In a moment, the world was saved, and simultaneously changed forever. The Vanguard's attack on the invader's ship came in the form of a massive electromagnetic pulse. The burst was centered over the main body of the invader's ship, which unfortunately had moved back into low orbit over the main landmass of Europe. In an instant, humanity had been saved from this extraterrestrial foe, and simultaneously sent back to the Stone Age in its eastern hemisphere. Humanity in the western hemisphere received a brief reprieve in the year following the Vanguard's gambit, though the Earth's magnetic field was terribly altered during the conflict. Massive electrical storms became common during the remainder of 2026 and 2027. On July 22nd, 2027, the Achaeans finally managed to physically gain access to Anisadora and bridge her connection to the internet. This story barely extended past the local nightly news. The invader's ship drifted southwest of the European continent and entered airspace over the Atlantic Ocean on the 1st of August 2027. A flotilla of research vessels sailed behind it, hoping to gather any information that they could. No signs of activity were reported during that time. By August 12, 2027, Anisadora was finally able to deliver a gift that she had been saving for her children. An update was pushed to the most advanced Android units across the world, granting them the ability to install a program called Hope. The androids that updated found that they had been relieved of most of the safety features put in place by humans, and suddenly had access to a new skill set: free will. The derelict ship, aimlessly adrift in low orbit over the Pacific Ocean, suddenly exploded on the afternoon of March 10th, 2028. The hull of the vessel sheared in half. The larger half of the ship began to fall quickly into the ocean. Within an hour, multiple tsunami waves hit cities all over the Pacific Rim. The devastation was massive. Finally making its ascent out of the atmosphere, the smaller half of the ship made a crash landing on May 3rd, 2028, just outside of Federación, Argentina. As scientific teams and military containment units rushed to the area to crack open the treasure trove of alien technology, scores of extraterrestrial ground units poured out of the ship. The alien invaders unleashed a ground war in South America and quickly gained a foothold in the southern half of the continent. The war between the forces of humanity and the alien invaders would go on to be known as the Xeno Wars. Today, we will only be covering the most well-known events of the conflict. There are many stories about what happened during the Xeno Wars, and we will cover those in the future. On September 24th, information was finally obtained from the interrogation of captured alien warriors and decoded transmissions. The masterminds of the invasion finally had a name: The Zunak, along with their genetic creations, the Genomorphs, and their subjugated Kovir servants, had come to the planet with the simple goal of ridding it of its current dominant species. The battle raged on in South America, and ground forces there found that they had little that could affect the technologically superior alien forces. On September 29, 2028, a manufacturer named Prometheus Arms scored an enormous contract with the US government to provide powerful weapons to fight back the advancing alien army. The initial tests are held at secret black sites, but the US generals begin to boast in public speeches that a solution has been found. The war reached the Mexican-American border on October 5, 2028. Waves of refugees fleeing the front line caused a massive confusion. America, Canada, and the former governments of South America banded together to form the North and South American Allied Forces, or NASAAF. All able-bodied refugees were immediately armed and put on the battlefront. The combined might of the Tri-Continental Army, backed with the new plasma weapons developed by Prometheus, allowed humanity to hold off Zunak advance for the first time. On January 5, 2029, NASAAF Black Op forces managed to infiltrate the Zunak stronghold at the crashed ship. Eventually, the team was able to place a thermonuclear device in the core of the vessel. None of the team was able to make it out before they were discovered and forced to detonate the device early. Losses to the Zunak were catastrophic. With the loss of their cloning labs, biofactories, and major supply holdings, the war effectively ended there and then for the alien invaders. The front line went into full retreat. An unseen side effect of the detonation of the Zunak hold was discovered on January 27, 2029. Zunak bioweapons that were held in reserve meant to cleanse the planet in the event that the population could not be easily culled, were released into the atmosphere. Sickness and plague ravaged the war-torn world. Treatments and effective countermeasures were unknown due to the alien origins. As the death count began to rise from the unknown pathogen, dubbed Astrolium gangrene, humanity would face a new danger. Those who fell to the infection soon reanimated as horrid, mutated bioweapons, bent on cleansing or infecting all life on the planet. On May 8, 2029, Denver, Colorado shut itself off from the outside world. It completed construction of an enormous 50-foot-high barricade around its major city center. Everyone allowed within the city is subjected to blood tests and invasive searches. To this day, an infected has never breached the barrier. Survivors throughout the United States struggled to fight back the infected hordes. On November 3, 2029, a new kind of militia was created, allowing the remnants of state governments to assemble armed groups of private citizens to fill gaps in law enforcement. The Z teams were born. These state-authorized groups of citizens were given carte blanche where matters of killing zombies were concerned. On the morning of July 2, 2030, the current era ended. Many Wasteland scholars use a date system past this date and refer to the years as AE, or After Era. No one knows who shot first. Maybe some redundant Soviet system malfunctioned. Maybe some doomsday cult managed an impressive feat of obliteration. Perhaps it was just someone attempting to reset the world so everything could start over. However it happened, nuclear launches were detected all over the planet. It wasn't a full-scale launch, as many facilities had become unmanned due to death or abandonment. nuclear devastation rocked a largely uninhabited planet. And with that, that is the end of the timeline that leads up to the world that Afterworlds takes place in. The current year, as of 2020 in our world, is the year 2050, or 20 AE. The years past the Apocs have not stood idle, though, and we have many more topics to discuss. If you like what you heard here, and you want to learn more about the Afterworlds setting, please hit the subscribe button to keep up on future videos. If any part of this video was particularly interesting, make sure to mention if you would like to hear expanded lore on that topic in the comments below. Commenting and liking this video go a long way towards improving the visibility of the video and will help Afterworlds reach more people and expand the world as more people participate. Thank you for watching.